My name's Nat Defriend. I'm Director of Communities at the Young Foundation. And the Young Foundation is a research and action-based institute which does work in communities across the UK. And we do broadly three things. We conduct research, particularly qualitative ethnographic research. We support communities to take action on the things that matter to them, and we support social innovation, which means helping people, helping communities, helping organisations to make changes to deliver social good.
How can we address inequalities and divisions in places and communities across the UK?
People often feel that their place is unfairly characterised, is dismissed as being a place in which decline is taking place, in which people are deprived, in which people don't have the tools and capacity to make change happen for themselves. And almost without exception, in all the work that we've done, working with people in communities across the UK, we have found an entirely opposite narrative to be at play. When you go and do this work, when you go and talk to people in these communities, you find examples of people collaborating, you find examples of people thinking about how they can make change happen together. You find examples of people being very innovative in thinking about how they might address some of the challenges that they face. You find people aspiring for better lives for themselves and for their communities. And it's that narrative that people would like to see much more focus on when their place is reflected to the outside world. So that inequality, if you like, of recognition for the things that people already do, and that inequality of representation, the way that positive narrative, it does not feed into the way that places are talked about when decisions are taken, when the democratic institutions, for example, reflect on what's needed in different parts of the UK.
Can you talk about the value of using a place-based approach to address this issue?
We have focused down on the idea of place and community as being, if you like, the primary unit on the basis of which social change is possible. We have become increasingly aware of the significance of place, the significance of community for the people that we've worked with. And people, firstly, have a very, very strong attachment to the places in which they live. And crucially, they also experience inequalities in respect of their place as opposed to others. So people in many of the communities we have worked within talked about how their place is disadvantaged comparative to other places.
How can we develop people's potential for addressing challenges in their own communities?
What our method has tried to do, with, I would say, varying degrees of success, is to bring together a really interesting partnership collaboration to think together, to co-create ideas for different potential solutions to the challenges, or different ways of realising the aspirations, or different ways of making the most of the assets that exist in places. So we provide some really quite straightforward basic support around developing a business plan around an idea, having a clear theory of change on which the idea is based, making sure that people are very clear about who the beneficiaries are of their idea, what change is it going to deliver in the world, and how are they going to engage with the beneficiaries of that change to make sure that the idea works. And then thinking through some of the really quite simple stuff around financial skills, financial capabilities that enable those ideas to become real. And that's with a view to supporting these leaders who hopefully are new leaders emerging from communities, not your usual suspects, to be able to start to make the case to people who might support it, typically people who can give them the initial grant they need to develop the idea further, and as they develop, as those ideas reach maturity, to access some of the investment that might be out there that could support them to make for that idea to have real impact.
What is your one recommendation for policymakers?
If I could only make one recommendation, it would be that there needs to be a much greater emphasis on engaging in a really meaningful long-term way between services and beneficiaries of those services.